Good evening, everyone, and I welcome you again to today's webinar. So, today's webinar is going to be all about grad school applications, especially for the fall of 2026. So, all of you who are either applying for fall of 2026 for your PhD or your master's, today's webinar is the ideal webinar to attend. First of all, because we are nearing the deadlines, and second of all, I'm going to be highlighting some very important points that you should consider if you are applying for the current fall cycle. So I am Radhika Mujumdar. I am career counselor here at Videsh, and we have been helping students to get admits to their dream universities. Okay, so I'll just start sharing my screen so that we can begin this webinar. Yeah. So, like I said, today's webinar is especially for grad school applications for masters, PhD for fall of 2026. Okay, so we are going to be talking all about right from university shortlisting. We are going to talk about how to draft your SOP resume or your letters of recommendation. I'm going to be talking about a very important factor in your profile, that is your research profile, which is not really mandatory, but then I'm going to emphasize on the importance of having a research profile in the first place, and then creating a realistic timeline. Okay, so considering that we are almost at the fag end of October, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the timeline that we should consider, because that is a very important point considering that the deadlines are nearing. Okay, and then I'm going to touch upon a little bit about the Videsh long term mentorship program, because that is something that I'm going to be talking about how we are going to mentor or how we help students to send out applications or to select universities in the best way to achieve their dream universities. So if today is your first time attending Videsh's webinar or the webinar hosted by Videsh, I would like to introduce Team Videsh to you. I'd like to talk a few minutes about our co-founders. Okay. So, Videsh was founded by three co-founders, Dr. Raj, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Sridhar, who are award-winning scientists and researchers from IIT Madras, MIT, and Purdue University in the US. Okay, so when they were in the process of applying for masters and PhD, at the time they were in IIT Madras back in 2017. It was a very tough time for them, okay, because there was no professional mentorship available at that point of time, and all they had was a little bit of help from their seniors and some professors who were gracious enough to help. Okay, even when they received admits from MIT and Purdue and they went to the US to pursue their masters and PhD, they started receiving a lot of requests from their juniors or from their friends or from other references who wanted some kind of guidance regarding how to sort out your application, what are the important points to be included in the application. And especially, people are not really aware about the kind of requirements that top universities have when it comes to sending out applications, because everybody knows that QS universities ranking in 1 to 20 are highly competitive. They've become highly competitive not in any particular field but in every field. So it's very important that your application stands out in real before you can expect a realistic admit. Okay, and by standing out, I mean that all the elements of your application need to be exceptional. Okay, it's not like one of the element, like for example your GPA is very good and that will guarantee you an admission to some of the top colleges. So that's not the case right now. That's not the current trend that we are seeing. So that's what happened actually gradually, and also when they were pursuing their studies in the US, they realized the importance of research. Okay, research is highly underrated, especially in Indian universities. So that is what they realized, that you need to emphasize on really well before you can actually send out applications and expect admits from very good universities. So with these two aims in mind, they came back to India. They founded Videsh, and then since then our team has been helping students and working professionals to help attain their dream universities. All right. So, yes, I'm going to talk about today's agenda a bit. First of all, we are going to touch upon the basics of grad school applications. We are then going to talk about university shortlisting, then a few documents like SOP, LORs, and a resume. I'm going to also touch base upon, GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS. Why? What is the current trend that we are seeing in relation to these exams? And then a very important topic, that is the research profile. Okay, after I begin with long term mentorship, and if time permits at the end, we'll also open the webinar up for a few questions at the end. Okay, another important point is that if any one of you is joining late or misses a few things in the middle, we are recording this webinar and we'll be posting our recording on our YouTube channel. Okay, and I'm going to be sharing you the link of this YouTube recording in my follow-up email that I'll be sharing later on today or maybe tomorrow. Okay, so in case you miss anything, you can always have the YouTube video for reference, and you can always refer the slides later on. All right. So, about grad school applications, basically, you can either apply for master's or PhD. And by this time, you should be very clear about whether you want to apply for master's or whether you want to apply for PhD. Okay. Masters is typically very short course. It's like a very college oriented course and requires less amount of, I would say, research expertise. And whereas PhD is more about whether you are a right fit for a particular university than your profile being exceptional. So it matters a lot to the professors and to the admissions committee if your research interests align with their research labs. Okay, so that is something that mostly PhD admissions are aligned with. And the trend that we've been seeing is that most of the times PhDs are funded, and for masters it is very difficult to get funding right on, okay, before you arrive on campus. So some of the basic requirements of sending applications to grad schools basically is having a good GPA. And by good GPA, I mean, I'll just talk about the ranges a little bit. A very good or an exceptional GPA is 9 or above. That is something that we consider exceptional, very good, and something that can be considered as a strength. Okay. GPAs between the range of 8 to 9 are good, not average, not poor, but they are good and not exceptional. Okay. GPAs 8 or below are considered not so good by universities. And that is, it's like, you cannot do much about your GPA, especially when you are in your fourth year, when you've already completed your undergrad. It's not something that you can really do a lot about. Okay, but yes, there are ways to offset your GPA. Okay, there are ways in which you can really highlight other elements of your profile without actually showcasing this part of your profile, that is the GPA. All right, and the way you can do that is by mentioning that you have been really exceptional in some of the other subjects that you've performed really well in. Okay, that is and you have to mention that GPA. Okay, so those subject specific GPA is something that you should mention as relevant coursework, okay, in your resume. So I'll touch upon that later on also when we're talking about resume. But then now I want you to remember that this it's not a very good, I would say, it's not a very good idea to start worrying or worry about your GPA, because it's not much, there's not much you can do about it. Rather, you should now focus on building the rest of the elements of your profile. Okay, like a good resume, a good statement of purpose, good letters of recommendation, strong letters of recommendation, and a strong research profile. Okay, competitive GRE TOEFL scores, yes, that is also something that will not exactly offset your GPA, but then I would say a good TOEFL score is something that we consider above 105 or 107, and a good GRE score is something that we consider above 330. Okay, which is, like, I would say, very tough considering the GRE admission cycle. Okay, so the kind of way in which GRE is graded, it's very difficult because they have negative marking. It's really difficult to get 330 and above. For those who have 330 and above, it's well and good. It's considered as an exceptional score. If not, you should focus on other elements of your application. All right. Deadlines, very important point for fall 2026. Deadlines are as early as December first week. So this time is extremely crucial for you to, if you have already begun with your application process, well and good. If not, you need to start as soon as possible, because some universities, like I said, they have deadlines as early as first week of December. All right. For spring admissions, for those of you who want to, or who are rather inclined to apply for spring, and unless you don't have a very good reason to do that, please don't apply for spring, because the first reason is that the size of the cohort is much smaller for spring, so the chances of you getting admitted are significantly lower. Okay. So for example, if fall cohorts are accepting 200 students, then spring will just accept 120 students. So immediately the chances of you getting admitted drastically reduce. The second point is that the summer internships, okay, so the summer internships collide well with the fall semesters. Okay, so that it is a very good, it fits very well in your the whole semester, in your whole calendar, if you are enrolled for a fall semester rather than a spring semester. Okay. And third reason is the number of courses. Okay, so for the spring semesters, we've seen that the number of courses that are available for spring are much lesser than the number of courses available for fall. Okay, so you don't have a lot of courses to choose from if you're applying for spring. Okay, so unless you have a very specific reason to do so, please apply for fall. Please try to apply for fall cycle. Okay. For funding, yes, I mean, it is comparatively difficult to get funding for masters. However, a lot of universities have options of sending applications to scholarships for international students, so that is something you can consider. Now these scholarships are university specific. Okay, and some of the scholarships are also country specific. Okay, so it depends a lot on whether or not you are a citizen of a particular country. So especially for Indian citizens, they have 6 or 7 specific scholarships that you can apply to, which will give you, I would say, on an average funding of tuition fee waivers or fundings in the range of 3 to 5 lakhs. Okay, other than that, I would say it's really worth trying to apply for university specific scholarships once you have sent out applications. Okay, so that is something that you can do for masters specifically. For PhDs, the best way to get funding is to get in touch with your professors after you have submitted your applications, and to find professors basically whose research areas or whose research interest align with your research work. Okay, that is the best way to get funding for PhDs. But then it's not as easy as it comes. It's not like you're just sending out an application and you get funding automatically if you're applying for PhDs. You also have to do a lot of networking. You have to send a lot of cold emails to these professors. You have to explain to them why you are the perfect candidate for receiving this kind of funding as a research assistant, or in the form of fellowships. Okay, so that is something that is there in case of funding. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the university shortlisting. Okay, so when you're talking about university shortlisting, if you've not already started university shortlisting, now is the, I would say, high time you start doing that. And shortlisting of universities basically should be done on a minimum risk level. That is something that you should do when you're actually applying for grad schools. The reason why I'm saying that is because if you're applying for either masters or PhD, or for any course, or even integrated PhD for that matter, what usually happens is that if you're only applying to dream universities, that is top universities according to your profile range, you are increasing risk. Okay, so what we are generally suggesting students is that keep a very, I won't say keep minimum risk, but then manage your risk levels very well when you are specifically shortlisting universities. That is extremely important. especially when you are applying. Okay, it's very important to select those 10 universities in such a way that some of these universities are very easy for you to get into, some of these universities are realistic, and some of the universities are actually dream universities. Okay, so they are like a little bit above your profile range, but then worth trying. All right, so that is something that I would suggest you do. And then this is basically the Excel sheet that you should start making if you are in the process of selecting your universities. So whichever universities you have in mind, you have to jot them down, you have to mention those universities on an Excel sheet. And the second column, for now, you can leave it open, because it is actually depends heavily on profile evaluation. Okay, so the second point is something that second column is something that you can leave at the moment. You can start filling in from column 3. Okay, so column 3 is something that this information is readily available on the university website, and from column 3 onwards all the information is there on the university website. Okay, so that information is something that you have to fill in this particular Excel sheet. And then this list is a list of 25-30 universities. You have to shortlist 9 or 10 universities out of these universities. Okay, so that is something that we'll do after a month. Okay, right now, for now, or as of now, this Excel sheet is your master sheet. All right, yeah. Now you have to or rather I would say this is one of the most important documents in your application, that is the statement of purpose. It actually gives a complete idea to the admissions committee about what you're trying to showcase, what your profile is, and what you have achieved so far, and what are your career aspirations. Okay, it's extremely important. This document is something that should be considered or should be taken very very seriously. And it's not like it's just a personal essay, or it's just like something about you have to write an essay about yourself. It's you can say that you have to project yourself, your entire experience and your aspirations in 1200 1300 words. Okay, so don't leave this step for the last few weeks, or even the last couple of weeks. Start preparing your statement of purpose from now itself. Okay, because SOP requires actually a lot of time to work upon, right? It looks like a 1200 word essay, but then there need to be a lot of changes, a lot of fine tunings that need to be done. So start writing down or start preparing the draft as soon as possible. Now, for your ease of understanding, what we have done is we have divided the SOP into 4 parts. Okay, so first is the thread, second is the hook, third is the supporting cast, and fourth is the casting the net. Okay, I'm going to touch upon all of these points in a while. Okay, because when I ask you to write 1200 words about yourself, it can be a bit overwhelming, right? It's really difficult for us to sit down with a blank piece of paper and start writing something about ourselves. It's not easy, right? So that is why we have these 4 points that we have shortlisted for you, or made it easy for you, so that you can actually put your thoughts together. Okay, so the first part is the thread. Thread is the unifying vision which binds your SOP together. Okay, so every single part, every single paragraph of your SOP should be directed to that vision. All right, what do I mean by vision? Okay, so I'm just giving you an example of Dr. Rad's SOP. Here he has mentioned his vision that he wants to create an impact through fluid mechanics. Okay, so this is his vision. Okay, and if you look at his SOP, he has mentioned this vision multiple times. Okay, that actually portrays him as a person who has extreme clarity of thought, who knows what he wants, and he's working towards it. Okay, it might seem that the thread is getting repeated, or your vision is getting repeated a lot of times, but then still it is very important to do so. Okay, this vision will tie your entire SOP together. Okay, the next is the hook. Okay, hook is the strength of your profile. Okay, it is all of your achievements that you have done up till now, everything prestigious that you have achieved, all your things that you want to showcase from your profile. And if even if you don't have a hook right now, a hook can be developed. Okay, hook can be developed in the form of a research profile, in the form of research projects also. Okay, why is the hook so important? Because the hook immediately catches the attention of the admissions committee. Okay, a hook is something that will immediately give you that kind of confidence when you begin writing your SOP. Okay, here as an example, Dr. Raj has written that he has presented his paper in the European Fluid Mechanics Conference. Now, in the previous slide, if you remember, his vision was creating an impact in the field of fluid mechanics. Here he is mentioning his hook as in the similar field. Okay, that is how he is tying his hook and thread together. Okay, that is something that you need to do. You need to tie all the elements of your SOP together. They should not look like different paragraphs, but they should look like different beads from the same necklace or from the same piece. Okay, that is very, very important, right? Now the third part is the supporting cast. Okay, it is very important that even if your field is different, even if there might be some things in our profile that are not completely or directly related to the field that we are applying to, right? So what do we do in that case? But still, these achievements are prestigious. These achievements are something that we want to showcase, but it's not directly related to the field that we are applying to, and then we are confused whether or not I should include these points in my SOP. The answer is yes, of course, you should include these points in your SOP, but then as the supporting cast. Okay, so for example, here he mentioned his supporting cast as an internship in ITC, which was in installing solar panels. Now you can see that installing solar panels is nowhere related to creating an impact in the field of fluid mechanics. Okay, but still he has mentioned it. Okay, he has mentioned it as the supporting cast. And how did he do that? He did that by, again, mentioning at the end that his passion is to create an impact in the field of fluid mechanics. Okay, so he ties his supporting cast with the thread again, right? So that is what I'm talking about, tying your whole statement of purpose together. It's very, very important. Okay, fourth point, most important point, casting the net. Okay, here is where you make your pitch. Here is where you tell the university why they should send you an admit, what makes you a good fit for the university, and why you will be an asset for the university. Now please remember, this is a two-way street. All right, you need to make the pitch for yourself, but also you need to explain how you will contribute to the university. And this you do by exploring or by researching their research labs, by researching their professors. Okay, here you can see that he has mentioned a lot, Dr. Raj has mentioned a lot about the professors. Okay, and the different professors that he met during his work. Now if you've not met anybody, what you can do is you can research the university website and you can research the professors. You can with similar research interest as yours or similar research areas as yours, and you can mention those professors in your SOP also. That is completely okay. That is something that will prove that you're actually somebody who is very proactive and somebody who's actually serious about making a contribution to research. Okay, that is something that will catch the attention of the admissions committee. Okay, that is very important. Make sure you have a very strong ending. Okay, so by that, like I said, it's a two-way street. It's going to be a two-way. First of all, you tell them how you will contribute, and the next step is to finally make a pitch for yourself. Okay, so these are the elements basically of a strong statement of purpose: the thread, the hook, the supporting cast, and the pitch, and the casting the net. Okay, some do's and don'ts that are particularly common for both SOP and resume. First of all, don't try to write or don't mention any quotes. Okay, it's not considered a very positive thing to mention somebody else's quotes, or it looks very cheesy. It's not something that the admissions committee are really interested to read. They want to know you as a person, and they don't want to read some quotes written by somebody else. Okay, and for second, or I would say now this is the most important point actually, Don't get your SOP and other documents reviewed by somebody who's never been through this process. Okay. It might sound really tempting to, get your documents reviewed by a family member, by a relative, but then please make sure that it is done by somebody who's been through this process. Okay. If not a professional mentor, it's fine to run it by a senior, to run it by a professor, or even your colleague, your other friend who's also going through the same process. Okay. And then yeah, like I said, if you feel that the same points are getting repeated on your resume and SOP, that happens usually because these documents are supposed to be coherent, they are supposed to tell the same story, and it's completely fine. Okay, so don't really try to sound different in your resume and SOP. A resume is a shortened version of your SOP. Okay, so that's completely fine, right? The next point is the letters of recommendation. Very, very important. Now, your letters of recommendation need to be strong, diverse, and you need to make sure that you have a very, very full of adjectives. So your LOR shouldn't be too much over the top, but it should have a lot of strong adjectives. Okay, no glorification. Yes, but then you still need to sound exceptional. Okay, I've just given you an example of a generic and an exceptional LOR. Okay. So on the left, you can see a sentence which is very generic. Okay. Anybody will be able to, this can be also considered as a template also, right? An exceptional sentence looks something like the one on the right, right? This is something which looks exceptional, right? And that is exactly you need the case that you need to make for your letter of recommendation, right? Specifically, when you're drafting your own letters of recommendation, what you need to do is that the professors that you're approaching for your LOR, you need to request them the permission to draft your own LOR, first of all, right? Why are we doing that again in the first place? The first reason is because most of the professors follow a generic template. We don't want them to follow a generic template. That is why it's very important that you draft your own LOR and send it to them for review. Okay, so that is something that you need to do when you're approaching professors for a letter of recommendation, right? And then another important point is that what we suggest students generally is to take two letters of recommendation from their professors and take one LOR from either their research mentor or from their manager at their industry. Okay, that actually portrays you as a diverse individual and somebody who has been endorsed by both academia as well as industry. So that is something which is very important. Being diverse or being endorsed by somebody from a diverse background is also very important for you, right? Yeah, for resume, most of the points I've covered earlier, but then resume needs to follow a specific template. Okay, it's just your 30 to 60-second pitch to the university. It's very, very crucial for you to write your resume in a particular, in a very specific format, which is very, very specific to the requirements of the grad school admission committee. And this particular resumes are very different from the ones that we send to industries. Okay, so that is something also that I want to highlight here. The resumes that you are sending for job applications won't work in your grad school applications. This is a completely different template and needs to be prepared in a different way. All right. I want you to look at the resume mentioned on the right. Now, here, what Dr. Sridhar has done is that he has mentioned his educational qualifications first. That is something that is very, very important. This should come as the first point in your resume. And what you need to do after this is that you need to mention your publication section. Okay, so if you don't have a publication section, in case it happens that you don't have your publication section at the end, we can still work on your publication section. Okay, so now also we have, I would say, substantial amount of time to still work on your publication section, on your research section. If you do not have a publication section in your resume, your profile or your resume would come off as very, very strong. Rather, it would come as something that is short of something, and it does not have a research element attached to it. Okay. So I would say that I would, or rather, we would advise everybody to have a publication section on their resume. Okay. It's fine if you don't have a patent section, it's completely fine if you don't have conferences, but very, very important to have a publication section on your resume, right? Key elements of an impactful resume. Yes, for a PhD application, detailed explanation of your research work done previously makes a huge impact. Okay. Writing relevant coursework, writing projects, highlighting publications. I'll tell you how to write your own publications or how to include this publication section later on. But then having your personal portfolio website makes your application stand out. Okay. So here you can see that he has given a link to his portfolio website here. This is the link to Dr. Sridhar's portfolio website, and that is something that makes a huge impact to your overall application. Okay. So that is something which is very, very important, right? If your GPA is very strong, 9 or above, make sure that you are mentioning it. Okay. Make sure that you are highlighting it. If not, no need to specifically highlight it. In such cases, you can highlight relevant coursework that has you highlighted as an exceptional coursework. Okay. Yeah, that you've performed really well in. All right. And then for specifically master's applications, highlight extracurricular activities. And generally, we don't recommend highlighting activities from, before your 10th grade. Highlight activities after your 10th grade in your undergrad specifically, and specifically national level achievements for sports, and entrepreneurial activities also are very much, I would say, should be included. And if there are any social initiatives done by you, that also counts as a very impactful extracurricular activity. All right. And then any teaching experiences also, if you have, that also counts as a very strong extracurricular activity. All right. Yeah, do's and don'ts for resume are also pretty much similar to the ones that are there for your statement of purpose. So it's again, one thing that I would like to add here is that don't mention your marital status, your gender, any security number, license number, etc. on your resume. Don't even add a photo to your resume. That actually creates a negative impact, because the generally admissions committee or the admission process is extremely fair. They don't look at your personal documents before they are making a decision about your application. All right. A very, very important point is that your SOP, resume, and LOR should tell the same story. Okay. It's very important that these three documents are coherent. They should tell the same story. And, it should be, it's fine if it's repeated, one or two points are repeated, or let's say more than one or two points are repeated. That's also fine. But then, LOR is something that will add credibility to your story. All right. They bind your resume and SOP together. So that is why a strong letter of recommendation is extremely important. Okay. What I'm going to talk to you, or what I'm going to show you now is, a very strong LOR written for Dr. Sridhar by a professor at MIT. Now you can see that, you can see on the screen that, this particular professor endorses Dr. Sridhar for a particular award that he is nominated for at MIT, and he is portraying Dr. Sridhar as somebody who has an excellent technical expertise, somebody who is also, explained in very, very detail about the projects that he's done, and details about his own individual contributions. Okay. So that is something very, very important. All right. And then also, he mentions a lot about his soft skills. Okay. His communication skills, his leadership skills, portraying Dr. Sridhar as a team player. That is also something which is very, very important. Okay. So this is what I call as a very strong letter of recommendation, that this is something that will give your profile a lot of credibility. Okay. Yeah. Now we are going to talk a little bit about GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS exams. Most of the US universities have waived off GRE exams. In case you have given your GRE exams, well and good. But if the university is specifically not asking for your GRE scores, there's no point in sending out GRE scores to that particular university. Okay, so that is very important. Again, if you are thinking about giving the GRE now, I would say you would rather it is rather advisable to start working on your profile rather than taking a date and giving a GRE right now, because like I said, it's approximately a month or month and a half left until you submit applications and deadlines arrive for universities. Okay, TOEFL pretty much is very easy. Almost all of you must have given TOEFL or IELTS by now, but then if you've not, still it takes about 1 to 2 weeks of preparation, and then it's a pretty simple exam and can be given. Okay, some tips for GRE preparation in case you've already taken a date and appearing for GRE in the month of November probably. GregMat is a really good website for GRE preparation, and they have a lot of mock tests also available on their website. Okay, the format of the mock test is pretty much similar to the actual GRE exam. So we found that this particular website or this particular mock test are pretty much, I would say, similar to the actual GRE exam. So it helps a lot of students to actually prepare for this particular exam. And for TOEFL, Magoosh app is really good for, they give you flashcards for learning different words and to, strengthen your vocabulary in terms of TOEFL preparations. All right. Now I'm going to touch upon a very important topic of research profile. Okay, so having a research profile or making a research profile is not really mandatory. Nobody is actually giving you a space in their application to insert or to write about your research profile in particular. But then this is something that is mostly underrated, something that most of the students are not doing. And it's a very, I would say, misleading term when you call a research profile. So what is a research profile exactly, right? The two boxes that you can see on the left, research projects and international research internships, are not considered as having a research profile. Okay, they are something that almost all the students have done during their undergrad studies, and research project is something that everybody has worked upon. Now taking that project up and converting that into a research paper, and that too getting it published in a renowned conference or journal, is very important. Okay, we've seen a lot of students sending publications or calling themselves as somebody who is having a publication and submitting to a journal with a very low impact factor, or a conference which is not renowned at all. Okay, so having 5 or 6 such submissions or applications is not going to add too much of a value. Okay, you will end up having a publication section on your profile, but then the admissions committee know the impact factor of every journal and conference, right? Instead, make an impactful submission to only one journal, only one conference, and that is impactful enough. Okay, so publications, conference, and patents constitute as having a research profile. I also understand that at this stage, with approximately 1 to 1.5 months left for submitting your applications to universities, it might be a little less time for you to start working on your research profile from scratch. But what you can do is you can take up one of your research project and start writing a research paper. What you can do is that you can also mention that your research paper is in preparation. Okay, still you can have a publication section, right? That is something that you can do, and that is something that is considered valid, okay, by the admissions committee also. They are completely open to considering that your research work is in progress. It's completely fine. It's not a piece of cake, it's not a cakewalk. Writing, publishing research papers, even they understand that that's completely okay. So even if your research paper is in preparation, you can still include it in the publication section of your profile, right? What I want to emphasize on is that your resume on the left looks much better than your resume on the right. It does not matter if you have 10 projects. It's important that you have one paper, one conference, and an existing publication and a conference section. Okay, so your resume on the left carries more weightage than your resume on the right. Okay, this is something that I want to tell you. Exactly the point that I was trying to make. It's completely fine that your paper is in preparation. Okay, this is Dr. Raj's resume, and it is his resume when he was trying to, or when he submitted his application to MIT, and he also received an admit from MIT. Okay, so this essentially proves that a paper in preparation is fine. You can see that he has only one paper, that too in preparation, but then still he ended up getting an admit from a prestigious university like MIT. Okay, so that is something that is very, very important, right? Now, I am not going to, ask you, or I'm not going to really talk about how you can publish your paper in the coming months, because there's no time left for that, honestly. What you can essentially do is that, first of all, you can start working on a review paper with you as the first author, or you can take up one of your existing research project and start working on it to convert it into a research paper. Okay, it's completely fine if your paper is in preparation. All right. Yeah, this is the timeline that we prepare for students who are working with us for preparing or writing a review paper or a research paper. This way, we can add a publication section to your profile and mention that your paper is in preparation. We can also mention the journals or conference that we are aiming to target. Okay, so that is something that we can do. All right. You can also submit your papers to archive preprint. Now here the process is much more lenient rather than an actual journal or a conference. Okay, like I said, you can convert your existing projects into preprints as well. Okay, that is also something that you can do. Now in long-term mentorship program, in Videsh long-term mentorship program, what we are essentially doing is that we are helping you to have a publication section, which is, I would say, a very important point in your entire application. And then the second point is that we are helping you craft a strong application. Okay, so that is also something that we are helping you with. Now how do we do that? First of all, like I said, we are helping you establish a research profile. In the first place, we're helping you convert one of your research project into a research paper, and we are also helping you with shortlisting of your universities. So we help you to shortlist 10 universities. We are helping you with drafting your SOP, resume, and 3 letters of recommendation. And we are also helping you draft your portfolio website. Okay, we are also helping you to connect with professors, to network with professors later on, even after you submit your applications. So that is also something that we are going to help you with. Okay, this is how a portfolio website looks like. I'm just going to give you a short glance about the portfolio website. It's very important to centralize all of your information on a website. Okay, I agree that you're already sending SOPs, resumes, and even LORs to professors. But what you're actually doing in your research work, the publication section that I'm talking about, that is elaborated here in the portfolio website. Even if you have a work experience, that is elaborated here. If you have research projects, that is elaborated here. Okay. So this is a very elaborate version of all of the documents that you're trying to send out, right? Again, I would like to emphasize on the point that you should have coherent SOP, resume, and letters of recommendation. Very, very important point. It might also seem that you are repeating all of those points time and again, but still it is extremely, extremely important. Okay, I'm still reiterating the point because coherency is very important. Now this is the stage where we are actually coming down and shortlisting 10 universities out of the 25-30 universities that we had listed down in the first part of my webinar today. So we are now focusing on the second column. So how do you bifurcate universities as easy, medium, and hard, right? That happens through a detailed profile evaluation. Okay, so that is something that you are doing depending upon your research profile, depending upon your GPA, your relevant coursework. If you're trying to switch fields, if you're trying to cross apply, the QS university ranking of the university QS University ranking of the program that you're applying for. And even it depends a lot on your extracurricular activities, something that you've done as passion projects, and all of the things basically that you've tried to put out there in your all the documents that you've prepared. Okay, so it's very advisable for you to shortlist 3 or 4 universities in each category, and not just take only one category and shortlist 10 universities from that category. Okay, it's not advisable for you to do that. So try to shortlist 3 universities from easy, 3 or 4 universities from medium, and 3 or 4 universities from hard or dream category. Okay, this is just a pictorial representation of selling your profile. Okay, never undersell your profile. Okay, this middle figure is how you're likely to sell your profile. How maybe, most of us are underselling our profiles, right? That's not advisable, right? The black spots that you can see here are the weaknesses on your profile, and not just weakness, it's something that you necessarily don't want to highlight. Okay, no, you're not comfortable in highlighting it. Okay, you should be selling your profile by eliminating these black spots as much as possible. We are not drawing attention to these black spots, we are not eliminating them, but we are not highlighting them as our strengths. Okay, very, very important to remember is that you should always try to oversell, or you should or never undersell your profile, right? Now the long term mentorship program basically focuses on first part, building your research profile, and the second part is storytelling, that is coherency of SOP, resume, and LORs, and building your portfolio website. Okay, and then the realistic timeline, of course. So right now, in the next 1.5 months, what we will essentially do is that we will help you craft a very strong application that will help you to secure admits to very good universities. Okay, considering your profile evaluation. Okay, so first of all, a thorough profile evaluation is done, and after that shortlisting of universities is done, and then there are 2-3 revisions that are made to all the drafts of the documents that I explained right now, and then a final version is selected, and that is something that you're supposed to submit to universities, right? The entire program is monitored by our co-founders, and we also have a team of mentors from prestigious universities like Stanford, Princeton, MIT, Johns Hopkins, etc., who are PhD scholars who've gotten admits to these universities. So even we are following the rule of going through or getting our documents reviewed by somebody who has gone through this process, right? So these are the candidates, or these are the people who have secured admits from these top universities, and they also were international students. All right, so we also have a team of highly I would say prestigious, successful mentors, and who are of course being mentored, or the lead mentorship is being provided by our co-founders. So there's a whole team of mentors who's going to mentor you in the long-term mentorship program for this year. All right, the duration, yes, for completing your research paper and submitting to a journal or a conference is 3 months. However, we can show that your paper is in preparation in the first part of LTM. The second part of LTM is very important at this particular stage, and now is the perfect time actually to start working on the second phase of the long-term mentorship program. All right, so university shortlisting, statement of purpose, drafting your 3 letters of recommendation, selecting universities for GRE and TOEFL submissions, resume, portfolio, website, etc. So this is something that is very, very important. All right. And then, yes, of course, if you are interested to join the long-term mentorship program, you can send an email out to us. I'll share you the email ID as well. These are some of the testimonials of the students who were successful at our LTM 2023 and 24. So we have helped over 54 review papers to get published, a lot of research articles. This number has only increased in fall of 25. We have helped students get a lot of research internships also, a lot of SOP resumes and LORs being written. And we also have a Discord community, a live Discord community amongst peers also. So you can interact with other people who are also applying to different universities. You can get feedback on whether somebody has heard from this university, somebody has got an admit from this university. So that is also something that you can do. All right. Sample papers from long-term mentorship program. So these are some of the sample papers that I just want to showcase you in 2023 and 2024. So these papers were also written by people who had no experience in writing research papers or review papers. Okay, so these are the admits that we have received from different universities: CMU, Cornell, UC Chicago, Johns Hopkins. Another few messages that we received from students, few testimonials. We have sent our students to a lot of universities, and we get a lot of questions regarding if we only specialize in this entire process for US universities. So I want to clarify that that is not the case. We also help students send applications to European universities, and we also have mentors who are specialized in sending admits to European universities, Asian universities, and even Australian universities for that matter. So it's completely, I would say, open to all around the world. And if you look at our website, you will see a lot of universities, more than the ones that are displayed on the slide right now. And even there are video testimonials of students as well. Okay, so that is also something that you can watch on our website. There are video testimonials of students also that have spoken. All right, so that is something that you can do. We will help you with the following. In case of research, we'll help you to plan your profile, or complete or to convert your research project in such a way that you will have a publication section in your profile at this particular stage. All right, this is just a pictorial representation of the life that you will have at universities, top universities all around the world. It's a very diverse and a culturally enriching experience as well, and you get to learn a lot of things, and it overall shapes your personality in a completely different way. All right, so that is something that is there. And then send out an email to us at hello@flyvidesh.com. It's fine if you don't attach the latest version of your resume. Just send a link to your LinkedIn profile. That is enough. If you have a resume, well and good, attach it in the email hello@flyvidesh.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. So our team of mentors and counselors are there to guide you. Send an email out to us, even if you have any queries, even if you are stuck in any particular aspect. So it's not just this whole package. We also provide singular services regarding only SOPs, only letters of recommendation, only university shortlistings, etc. So it's possible that you might have worked on 3 out of 6 elements, and you need help for the remaining 2 or 3. So that is also there. Let us know your concerns, your doubts, and we will be happy to clarify all of those questions. All right, I will just go in the chat and see if there are any questions in the chat. Just a moment. Yeah, so if one applies in for master's, PhD in top universities in Europe, USA, how selection exactly happens, whether shortlisted students are further interviewed by professors. So regarding your first question, what usually happens is that some of these professors, especially for PhD admissions, they if they are more intrigued, they want to know more information regarding your research work, they send an email out to you regarding more information. That is where actually the portfolio website comes very handy. You can just send out the link to your portfolio website, and all the information is directly available. Some of these professors even ask you for a video chat. Okay, so that is because they just want to know how a candidate is by interacting with them for 15-20 minutes, how they are speaking, how confident they are, what exactly are their own contributions. So that is how further discussions with professor happens. I am seeing nowadays on LinkedIn that many university professors in Europe, USA are mentioning that for PhD masters, it's a prerequisite with good post-author publication to showcase research potential. Yeah, so it's not exactly a prerequisite. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a prerequisite, especially for PhDs. But it's a very, very important step. Okay, it's nowhere mentioned that it's a prerequisite, but if you're applying for PhDs, it's very crucial for you to have a first author publication. Okay, it's fine if it's in preparation, but needs to be first author. Okay, again, nobody mentions anywhere that it's mandatory, but that actually shows that you are capable enough to handle research on your own. Okay, that is something that I want to showcase, especially for masters students. What I would say usually is that it's not mandatory, but then a lot of students have made submissions to journals and conferences. They've gotten their papers published also, but impact factor of those journals and conferences is not that high. Okay, so that also creates a very important point. Okay, it's fine if you have one publication, but it needs to be from a journal or a conference with a good impact factor. All right, now that being said, we are now at a stage where it's very impossible, or rather very difficult, to start working on a first author research paper from scratch. Okay, now at this stage we should think about either writing a review paper or about converting one of our research project into a first author research paper. Okay, so that actually is, yes, it's not a prerequisite, but yes, it adds a lot of value. Okay, so it's very important to showcase your research work by showing that you are a first author for a research paper that is in preparation. You also need to mention which are the journals or conferences that you are going to be targeting. Okay, so that is also, that actually shows your level of clarity. Okay, so you need to be clear that this particular paper is in preparation, and this is the particular journal or a conference that I'm going to be submitting to. Okay, so that is something that you need to specify, that is something that you need to be very clear on. Another important point is the networking. Okay, so when we are talking about professors, now that we are talking about professors, you should get in touch with professors only after you have submitted your application. That makes your profile look very credible. That actually makes your you also need to get to mention that I've already submitted an application, this is my application number, here is the link to my portfolio website. It's a very clear, crisp email that you can write after you submit your applications. Okay, that is always a good time to network. All right, because if you reach out to these professors right now, they are in a lot of hurry. What they are just telling students is that, you first apply and then we'll see. Okay, that is the reply that most of the students are getting, and that is the most of our students feedback. Okay, so you should wait until you submit your applications, and then after a week or so, after the deadlines, that is when you should start sending out professors cold emails. Okay, so that is the ideal way to network with professors, right? So yes, if you have any more questions, please reach out to us on hello@flyvidesh.com. We will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm also going to be sharing the link to the YouTube recording of today's webinar in my follow-up email later today or tomorrow. So if you have missed anything, and if you need references on any of the slides, you can always refer to that video recording. All right, thank you very much for attending, and all the best for your applications. All right, thank you very much.